Something I really appreciate about the advent of all these PC handhelds is that I'm able to really consolidate my entire gaming library on Steam. And something I love most about Steam is the seasonal sales that happen every season. And they tend to be some of the best times to buy a bunch of games that you might not ever play, because the deals are just that good. We're now into late November, early December, and that begins the glorious time of year, the Steam Autumn Sale, one of my favorite sales right after the Steam Christmas Sale. That one is my personal favorite because a lot of the games I like go on sale that time of year. But that's not to say the Steam Autumn Sale isn't still also amazing. So I decided to collect my 5 favorite games from the Steam Autumn Sale that are best played on the Steam Deck. They're not in any particular order, from cheapest or most expensive or anything like that, or even from terms of quality. It's just 5 games that I really like and I think you should check out this Steam Autumn Sale. So let's jump into this with the very first game we're going to be talking about, Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 in of itself by the community isn't necessarily one of the best Borderlands games, but it is one of my favorites, purely on the basis of graphical fidelity. It's a very beautiful game, and it runs pretty well on Steam Deck, even though it's not Steam Deck verified, which you'll see that as a common trend for some of the games I'm going to be mentioning. I was able to maintain anywhere between 40-ish FPS all the way up into the upper 70s when it comes to FPS in this game. And that is quite normal for Borderlands 3. It does tend to be a little wonky when it comes to the FPS. When you're in the middle of combat, it can drop down to the 50s, but if you're just like walking around the wastelands, it just tends to be around the 70s, just due to how vast the area is. And I would recommend running a mixture of low to lowest settings for most optimal performance. Something else to consider, you can get the entire Pandora box collection, which includes Borderlands 1, 2, and 3, including all their DLCs and season passes, all that stuff, for $27. And with Borderlands 4 coming out later next year, I would say it might be a perfect time to pick that collection up if you're new to the franchise and play through all the games until Borderlands 4 comes out. They all run fantastic on the Steam Deck, and I would highly recommend anybody give those a shot. Borderlands 3 is $5.99 for the base game, or $27.51 for the whole Pandora box collection. The next game I'm going to be discussing is Dark Souls 3. I usually would like to add Elden Ring because I think it's an amazing game to play on Steam Deck, but unfortunately, Elden Ring isn't on sale this time around, but Dark Souls 3 is on sale. Dark Souls 3 is the predecessor to Elden Ring, not in terms of quite literally in terms of when they were released. It was just sort of the most recent version of similar game that FromSoft had released prior to Elden Ring. And considering how massively popular Elden Ring was, I think there's probably now a decent amount of people out there who've played Elden Ring but never played the original Dark Souls franchise. And there are a few Dark Souls games on sale during this time of year. There's Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls Remastered. So you can play the original very first version of the game, technically remastered, but close enough for modern purposes, and then you can move on to Dark Souls 3, because a lot of people don't particularly like Dark Souls 2. I like it, but I understand why a lot of people don't. I was able to run a pretty consistent 60 FPS with a mixture of low to medium settings for Dark Souls 3, and I was able to run at normal or high details for Dark Souls Remastered on the Steam Deck. They run fantastic. And Dark Souls 3, while a challenging game, is still one of the best and funnest games in the Souls franchise. And with the recent acquisition of FromSoft by Sony, it might be the last time we get any fun Souls-like games on Steam. You can get Dark Souls 3 for $30, and you can also get Dark Souls Remastered for $30 during the Steam Autumn Sale ending on December 4th. The next game we're going to be discussing is Jedi Fallen Order. This game originally came out quite a few years ago now, and it runs great on Steam Deck, and it's just overall one of my favorite puzzle action games. Very Tomb Raider-esque in terms of how you play the game. You're going through tombs and dungeons and exploring, solving puzzles using your Force abilities, and it's honestly one of the first Star Wars games that I actually really liked. I love Star Wars as a franchise for comic books, movies, TV shows, but like video games have never been something that really grabbed me as much. I'm not entirely sure why, but once Jedi Fallen Order came out, it felt amazing to cut a stormtrooper in half or just throw him off the side of a mountain. It's just genuinely one of the best Star Wars games out there, and Jedi Survivor isn't necessarily practical to play on the Steam Deck because just how high the system requirements are, but Jedi Fallen Order being an older game, and honestly, in my opinion, more well optimized, developed by Respawn, it genuinely was one of the best Star Wars games I have ever played. And this is probably one of the best deals you can find during the Steam Autumn Sale. You can get Jedi Fallen Order for $3.99, $4 whole, and you get one of the best Star Wars games that have ever been released. And if you like the new Jedi Outlaw game, I would give this one a shot too. It's more Jedi-centric, but I think you'll still enjoy it just as much. It has an amazing story, some of the best combat, and overall runs really well on the Steam Deck, averaging around between 45 to 60 FPS depending on what's happening on screen. I would highly recommend it. You can currently get Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order for $3.99. The next game we're going to be talking about is not just a singular game. Halo Master Chief Collection is a collection of some of the best Halo games in the franchise, and given where Halo currently is, I would say probably the only good games in the Halo franchise. This includes Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST, Reach, basically all the best Halo games we've ever had, including their own online multiplayer. And at least once a year, I play through all of these games purely because they're some of the best in my favorite games from when I was growing up. So many fond memories of co-oping this game on legendary difficulty and working my way through all these levels. And I genuinely think it's probably one of the best Halo series of games that we've ever had. Halo 5 was just okay. Infinite was a little bit better, but not great either. It's just been a steady downward trend with Halo, but there was a stretch of time where Halo was the most premier franchise on Xbox, and you can get all of those games on Steam right now for $10 or $2.50 per game if you didn't want the entire collection or if you didn't want specific titles. I still play this game regularly for the online multiplayer, and I think it makes a great game to anybody's Steam collection. The last game we're going to be talking about is probably one of the best JRPGs I've ever played. Persona 5 Royal is probably one of my favorite JRPGs I've ever played. I originally was introduced to the Persona franchise with Persona 4, which you can also get on Steam right now, but I feel like Persona 5 Royal really personifies what the Persona franchise is, and you don't necessarily need to play previous Persona games to understand what's happening in the newest one, mainly because each Persona game is their own individual story with their own unique characters. I'm not going to spoil any of the main story bits, but seriously, this is probably one of the best Persona games I have ever played, alongside Persona 4 Golden on the PS Vita. I would highly recommend both those games for you guys to go check out, because they're just some of the best JRPG action you could probably get. They're both turn-based, so if you don't necessarily like turn-based RPGs, I would stay away, but if you love that concept and you're familiar with it, I would highly recommend you check out both these games. Persona 5 Royal is $23.99, and Persona 4 Golden is $11.99. The last thing we're going to be discussing during the Steam Autumn Sale is the Steam Deck itself. You can currently get the Steam Deck on sale. The original 64GB LCD model is 15% off, and the 512GB LCD model is also on sale for 25% off. Unfortunately, the 64GB is out of stock at time of filming, but currently at time of filming, you can get the 512GB, which is not out of stock, for still 25% off, and you can get that for $336.75, which to me is a killer deal, making it cheaper than a Switch OLED and leagues more powerful than a Switch OLED, and you're able to enjoy all of your favorite Steam games on this device. I genuinely think the Steam Deck is still one of the best values in gaming, and 512GB at $336 is just an amazing price point. I would highly recommend anybody who's looking at one to jumping on this deal while you can, because the next time these things go on sale won't be till after Christmas, and you're hoping to get it before Christmas. I would highly suggest you buy it now. Other than that, I would love to hear what you guys think. Are you interested in any of the games I mentioned? Are you deciding to pick any of them up? Are there any games you think I should have mentioned? I would love to hear what you guys think down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All the other social media garbage down below. And last but not least, don't forget to have a wonderful day.